Another Wilfried Zaha rumor comes about. This time it's connected with PSG. Could Wilf be headed to Paris? We'll see. We'll talk about it. Also, 50 million for Michael Olise. Is that enough? I know it's not enough for me, but we'll talk about that too. Got another edition of Palace News on the way. See you all in a second. Welcome to another edition of Palace News. I am your host, T, and I am so graciously joined by my man, HA. What's up, man?
Good evening, G, man. How's things, man? How's things?
Yeah, man, everything's good, bro. Everything's good. Happy to be tapping back in with you, talking with everybody today on another edition of Palace News, but some interesting things going on, some things that we've sort of heard before, but some new things too. So we're going to kick it right off. But matter of fact, before we get going, I want to tell everybody that's in the chat, everybody that's watching, thank you. Appreciate you. We wouldn't be anywhere without you all. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It means a lot to us. It means everything to the algorithm. We love you, appreciate you. Let's keep the support going. But going into the first piece of news for new stuff about Palace, PSG have sounded out Wilfried Zaha and his representatives over a potential move to sign the Crystal Palace winger on a free transfer this summer. That comes from the Evening Standard. Now, The Guardian also posted a story that talked about the fact that Zaha had held talks with Al Nassr last week as they attempted to improve their squad, but he turned down that opportunity with them, which I think was like a $10 million deal. But it sounds like this PSG move is a real big contender here and could be legit. AJ, what are your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting one. I wouldn't begrudge him a move to PSG, and you'd struggle to find a Crystal Palace fan that probably would. I don't know. I'm still not 110% sold on the concept that he's leaving. I could be wrong. Does he want to up sticks and leave and go to Paris when the little ones are so young and going through the school system? Maybe I'm being a bit too logical with it. I mean, at the end of the day, Paris is an upgrade from Purley. Like, let's call it what it is, man. I've been to both. I know which one I'd prefer. But I wouldn't begrudge him a move to PSG. I kind of looked at it because it seems that PSG's. I've got a guy that I work with, and he says that PSG's model over the past couple of years are to not go for the glorified out of this way wages players, but go for the young, exciting players.
Mm-hmm.
So that would possibly go through the stopgap of what they've kind of been employing and looking to go for in terms of the market.
Right.
But then at the same time, is there an exciting winger that is capable of creating chances, scoring goals, and is pretty much packaged and ready to go straight away? They wouldn't have to pay a fee, so they could give him potentially a better salary. That also brings up another question: what kind of salary are they offering? Because yes, it is PSG, but are PSG going to give him the 200 that we're willing? Who knows? But I wouldn't begrudge him. He's guaranteed to get the league seat trophy every year. He'll get the cups in between. He definitely will get Europe. Yeah, he'll get Champions League football.
Yep.
I mean, right now, if I'm Wilfried Zaha, do I want to play with Mbappe or do I want to play with Edouard and Mateta? Like, that's a no-brainer.
That's a piece there too, because then Mbappe probably is going to be playing up top in this situation, and now he has somebody like Wilf who's got the ability that he does to slide in on the wing with him. So I mean, it's definitely some legitimate help for Mbappe.
Yeah, it'd be a frightening attack for PSG, to be fair. And I feel Wilf would turn that league over very, very quickly. I mean, it's a one-man league anyway. So, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't begrudge him a move there. I'm still not 110% sure he's going. But if he does go, the PSG links, the Atletico Madrid links make more sense to me. And it actually makes sense that he's turned down that move to the Saudi side of the world as well. It's quite funny, there's some of the comments, actually. I mean, they literally wear the same colours as us, so he's going to be used to it.
Yeah,
The same
yeah,
color scheme, except for bigger stadium, Champions League nights.
exactly. And
It'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
Mark makes a good point here because he might go because he speaks French, so it's an easy move for him because of the fact that he speaks fluent French, being that he's from Cote d'Ivoire. Um, and I think that definitely has to play into it. I mean, that's definitely a check box for him comparatively to other places, a la looking at Saudi Arabia, where there will be, a language gap for him there. There is a little bit of a piece in the fact that he could go to France because he speaks the language.
That's played a factor. I think it's the family factor that just keeps selling me to the idea that he's going to stay in England. And if he's going to stay in England, he's going to stay in this part of the world, because it doesn't necessarily mean that the partner speaks French. To be respectful, I have no idea if his partner even is multilingual in that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
The kids you got to take into consideration, but at the same time, Paris is a beautiful place to live, and the kind of money he'd be on, he wouldn't be in the slums of Paris. He'd be in a very high end part of that Paris, because essentially it's like London, very similar. In terms of the way of living works out. You have your obviously top tier people, then you have your middle class, working class, and then you kind of have your poverty concept, which is exactly the same as London. I mean, it makes sense if they do get rid, because we know Messi's gone.
Yep.
And we know that Neymar looks like he's kind of looking at that exit door, and we know that the project is built around Mbappe.
Mm-hmm.
But then, are PSG going to put that kind of money out for a 30-year-old Wilfried Zaha?
I don't think
I don't know.
I don't see the 200. I don't see the 200. But I mean, at the same time, if I'm
it's a stopgap.
If I'm getting the 120, maybe 150 ish, and the trade off is the fact that I'm playing European football, I'm starting 11 in quality for said team. I'm in a country where I know the language, things like that. I mean, I guess there is some trade-off that could give you that give and take of not getting the 200,000 per week that he would be getting if he stayed at Palace.
But then they could afford it. It just depends on what his agent's doing. I mean, the problem is, what you got to remember is it's that slow news con part of the world right now, because I don't think that the wheels are going to start turning until the international break's over, and we've got another 10 days of internationals popping up. Players are going to be away. Some players are going to be recovering, especially like Man City, West Ham players from their European exploits as well. After the international break, players are going to want to take a break, and then come end of June/July, I think that's when you're really going to start the ball rolling. You're going to start seeing people coming in from pre-season. You're going to start seeing. You're probably going to start seeing a lot more player transfer links. It's not just going to be centered around who's just happens to be out of contract. I don't know. It depends what his ambition is and what his agenda is, because his ambition and agenda 5 years ago compared to now are obviously going to be different.
Very different.
But at the same time, man, we can't begrudge him a move like PSG. I mean, if PSG came and doubled my salary and told me to go over there and do what I do for a living, who's not doing that?
Yeah, exactly. And Tim, you are correct. I think there were the rumors from Marseille, and part of that conversation was, hey, he could make that move because he speaks the language of things. So, and Daniel says here that 150 to 175,000 for a free player that they could sell on. Well, I mean, like AJ just said, he is 30 at this point, and depending on what type of deal he signs, that sell on might not be as lucrative as you wanted to be. Not to mention the fact that you got to think about other things upon signing a free player, because it's not just free and clear. You got to pay agent fees, all that kind of stuff still too.
Yeah, so that's not always black and white as people realize. I mean, I was reading earlier on today about Dembele coming in from Lyon, and apparently their agents want like 7 million just for a signing on fee.
That's what
for a club like
today, and I was like, what? It's another player.
I mean, that's a fair point as well. Fixtures are coming out, so I can start getting excited and start planning my next season. But I don't know. If I'm a Paris PSG fan, does the idea of signing Wilfried Zaha excite me? Because this is where you kind of got to play devil's advocate. And is he a glamour enough signing for where they want to be? Well, I know he's competent. We know he's competent. I think he will hand on heart know he's competent. PSG are in a little bit of a mess themselves. But the thing is, their mess is obviously a lot more easier to fix than ours.
Yeah,
I think 200 grand a week for a club like PSG is a drop in the ocean for somebody like that. Like,
because I can only imagine what they were paying Messi.
well, they can afford it,
So
and
if
their money
anything,
is locked.
if anything, they're still saving money by bringing them in.
And I do believe they've got, is it Saudi money? Forgive me if I got that wrong, or
Yes,
is it,
yes, yes. Qatar,
yeah, Qatar
Qatar.
money? So, that's
Basically,
no joke over there. I mean, it just depends on what PSG is doing, because obviously they need a new manager. They don't know what's happening with their star players. There's a few players in that squad that are kind of out and in, and nobody really knows what's going on. What they got to look at is, if I'm a Paris fan, I want a player that's going to come in and is packaged to challenge for the Champions League straight away.
mm-hmm.
That ticks a lot of boxes for Will, because we know he's got the skill, we know he's got the goals in him, we know he's got a bit of the easy on the eye football to go. So he'd be a star there. I think he would be. I don't think he would be as big as your Mbappe's, Messi's, and Neymar's. I just don't think he has that reach.
Nah,
But
nah.
I think they'd appreciate him there. I think the thing is, the scrutiny in France is very similar to what you get in Spain. And only up until a couple of years ago, I don't know if they still do it now, but ultras were allowed on their coaches after games. I don't know if that's a thing nowadays. I'm assuming from player security, that's forbidden. They probably can't do that. But does Wilfried Zaha want the ultras turning up his house if he's dropped a stinker or missed a penalty or something like that, or thrown his toys out the pram?
The way that they ended up doing Neymar, they showed up in
Exactly.
Neymar's house.
Yeah, maybe that's just a little bit of me playing devil's advocate. Maybe it's a little bit of me maybe just trying to emotionally bribe Zaha. Like, he's probably sitting there watching this video thinking, AJ might have a point, I don't know, man. I think it's a hard one, man. I think that if I'm being brutally honest, I wouldn't begrudge him the move. It wouldn't upset. And we do need to move on as a football club. If he's leaving, he's leaving. We need to go and bring in whoever we're going to bring in to replace him. But I would like to know sooner rather than later, because I do feel like it is dragging on.
Right. So before we move on, I want to address what Alan's saying here. He says, I think that if he knew he was going, he should have done a proper goodbye after the Forest game. Alan, I agree.
I didn't get that, even with Ferguson as well.
I think the caveat here is if he knew he was going. I don't think he knew.
No, I still don't think he knows. I do believe he's still on holiday, isn't he?
Yeah, I still don't think he knows. So I think the reason why we didn't see that goodbye is because we weren't sure if it was going to be goodbye. He wasn't sure if it was going to be goodbye. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that, with the fact that there was still a lot of things up in the air. So
it's hard to tell, man. It's hard to tell because, definitely last game of the season. He was out. I was expecting something. I mean, maybe not particularly a goodbye, but it didn't really scream last days of Zaha to me. But I've been wrong before. I've been wrong many a time.
I mean, he was
in terms of pulling things out. He was there. Fergie was there, and but between the because obviously it was Luca and Macca's day effectively. And there was a lot of dedication.
Yep.
I mean, if he was to go out and leave like that without even some kind of hint of some kind of appreciation, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a hard one, man. But at the end of the day, the Atletico Madrid link and the PSG link,
probably the ones that feel the most real.
I wouldn't begrudge him a move to one of those clubs. He would get the kind of football he wants week in, week out, those teams.
And I think that's the point. I think that's the reason why it feels the most realistic, because if he makes those moves, you can honestly see him getting opportunities to really play some serious minutes, to be actually contributing, starting in the starting 11 in those European competitions and things. Like, I could see him making that move and playing. It's like there are certain other moves, other teams he could move to where it's kind of like, oh, he's just going to be sitting on their bench. He's not going to get the time that he wants. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on where his head's at and what, you're gonna have one side of him telling him, his agents and the marketing behind him telling him, well, you want to move to the biggest club as possible. We want to be able to sell out and well, not sell out, but make the most money as possible, and we can get the biggest move possible. I feel like we've seen that phase of Zaha kind of just come and go, and we've stayed strong with that. And then you've got the other side of it saying, okay, you need to make sure whatever next move you make, it's got to be worth it, because it's the money, it's the type of football that's going to be there, it's the project. Can the club convince him that the project we are building is going to be worth his time? Because he's probably got another 3 years at the top, if that.
Yeah, probably so. I
So
mean, the fact that
can
he's
Wilfried Zaha afford to give 3 years to Palace for them to build the project? Hard to say. Unlikely based on what we've seen historically, because unfortunately our process is organic and slow. Where
yeah,
if he goes PSG, he's collecting minimal 5 trophies in that period of time.
and part of that, I mean, I guess it depends on what he wants as a person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because like it's kind of like instant gratification versus sweat equity and hard work to earn something. You know what I mean? Because he can go to PSG, he can get the silverware right away. You know what I mean?
yeah, for
And
sure. He
be
probably
able
win the bloody
and
Super Cup or whatever, like at
yeah,
the beginning of the season,
and
instantly.
be able to have that on his CV on his career resume forever, and then can forever say, hey, I won a French league title, I won a Super Cup, I played in the Champions League, possibly even win it because PSG is going to be one of the main teams in it. You know what I
I
mean? So
don't know if they. I mean, that's a different conversation for a different day.
yeah,
But I
but I
don't
mean,
think, based on the
just
project
having
they're
the
rebuilding,
opportunity to compete for something like that. You know what I'm
yeah, he'll be
saying?
constantly in there, and they'll be in the
Yeah.
knockouts there and thereabout. But in terms of physically going on to win it, he would have been better off
Or
going to an English team.
do you stay in Crystal Palace where you can say, hey, I put my blood, sweat, my tears into that that organization, and I led us to blank, whether that's an FA Cup title or European football, like what matters to you? Because like to this point in his career, he's gotten a graffiti wall. I think if he gives another 3-4 years, he might get a statue. You know what I'm saying? That type of contribution.
Yeah, there's so many factors to it, man. I guess it's the big fish, small pond conversation, to be fair, because it won't even be big fish moving into bigger pond. That is big fish going into the Thames. Like these guys, you're
Mhm.
going into the ocean, big man. So,
Yeah, yeah,
it's so hard to say, man. But I wouldn't begrudge him the move, as long as we invest the right way to replace him.
facts.
I would probably just let him be on his way. But I'm happy with either decision.
Yeah,
But the problem
absolutely.
is, it's just lingering around, almost like a bad smell.
Yeah, it hurts us. It
Because
hurts us
every
because
Palace news I've personally seen over the past couple of weeks, apart from the Lerma one, which was amazing, uh, but the problem I have is I'm not hearing about transfer rumors. All I'm hearing about is where's Wilfried Zaha going. Oh,
yeah,
another
that's
team's
true.
offered Wilfried Zaha a contract. I've just spent the sparse. As a
It's
Palace fan, I've had 5 years of him being linked all over the place.
and it's holding us up. It holds us up, unfortunately, because like
Exactly, because it seems like our
his
plans are
contract,
balancing on that.
yeah, because his contract goes all the way up until it butts up right against when we start preseason. You know what I'm
That's what I
saying?
mean.
Like,
So
and we're still
I'd rather
talking
just have
about
an
it, and we
answer, even
don't
if it's
have
an
a
answer I don't want
manager.
to hear.
Yeah,
I'd rather just have the answer. If it's an answer I don't want to hear,
just give it
but
to
then
me.
at the same time, am I fussed either
Rip the
way?
band-aid off. Rip the band-aid
Just
off.
let it go, man. If he wants to go, cool. If he wants to stay, stay. Say
Great.
something. But at the end of the day, again, he's entitled to his holiday. He's entitled to take some time off and just,
Facts.
recharge his batteries. Maybe that's where he will make that decision. Being abroad, having some family time, because at the end of the day, they're not robots. This ain't
Mhm.
FIFA, you know what I mean? You don't click X and then,
New season,
the
let's go.
player tells you. Or you do your transfer negotiations in that one little sequence or whatever. But I would not begrudge him a move to a Atletico, a PSG, a Barcelona, or Real Madrid, even a Dortmund or something like that. I just need to think that you're just moving for the right reasons. And I think I'm actually more at peace with it because he hasn't followed the money to Saudi Arabia. And he's confirmed that. Or
Mhm.
it's been confirmed he's not following the money to Saudi Arabia. He is very serious about the offers that get put in front of him and put on the table. And if we are serious, we also need to match his ambition, because there's no point wasting him, giving him 200 grand a week, and then just kind of maliciously lying and waiting to kind of just finish mid-table or bottom half of the table anymore. We need to
Exactly.
potentially chase a cup. We need to potentially push a higher place up the Premier League. Look what happens when teams go all out and go for it. Look at your Brentfords and your Fulhams. Granted, it never played out for them.
But they were
However,
but they were there. They were there. It was
but
a
they were here,
reality.
there, and
It was a
thereabout. And
reality
unfortunately,
for them.
our A23 or M23 or M25 rivals are now in Europe. We need to be able to match the ambition,
Mhm.
or we might as well let him go and invest that money elsewhere and just continue with this building blocks thing we're doing.
Facts. So moving on to our second topic of the day, is 50 million enough for Michael Olise? Crystal Palace are hoping a price tag of around 50 million for winger Michael Olise will act as a suitable deterrent for aforementioned PSG this summer. That's from the Daily Mail. So very simple question put out there to you, AJ, to the chat. Is 50 million enough to deter PSG from Michael Olise?
No. Fuck no. Sorry about the language. If I ain't even sorry about the language, hell no. Come on, bro. 50 million. Come on, bro.
That's not
Respect me.
for them. Nothing.
This is why I can't be in the boardroom, because I'll be giving them too much ghetto attitude for them to part with. I'll be getting kicked out of boardrooms left, right, and center because I'll be sitting there, and then you get the representatives of PSG, Mr. Man that has people beaten up and kidnapped, and that I'll be sitting there looking him dead in the eye and be like, "I'm sorry, how much? You're one of the richest clubs in the world. Show me the color of your money, or get out and stop wasting my time."
Facts.
Because Elise, his ceiling's different. His ceiling is, France under 21, second most assists in the league last year. He's only going to get better and better. If you offered me, how much money would it? You got to start at least 70, 80. That's how, and that's just off the top of my, I might have to sit there and think about it.
That's the smart thing.
50 million is just disrespectful.
Yeah, that's the smart thing to do, because whatever you put out there, you're going to more than likely sell for less than. So if you put out 50, there's a chance that they're probably going to negotiate you to 40 to 45.
I'm telling you,
that's not. I don't want that for him.
I would be sitting there in that boardroom next to Mr. Parrish and Mr. Friedman, and I'd be going, "Is that the deposit?
Is that the first payment or the second?
How does the installments work? Are we talking 50 million a season? Am I getting it all at once? Is this just a down payment monthly? Don't tell me about the deposit money. Show me about the total figure at the end.
Yep.
Where I sign.
Yep. Exactly.
Otherwise, let's keep it moving, because put it this way, Chelsea want 50 million for Gallagher.
Somehow, completely different topic, but somehow his value went up 10 million pounds somehow.
What time to be alive. But somehow you're going to try and convince me that Elise is worth 50 million.
Or that
this is what I'm saying, bro. Transfer silly season has begun. It was as dumb as when they said 50 million for Gay. Come on, bruv. We're not Little Palace out here. In fact, in comparison to some of these big boys, we are Little Palace.
Yeah, and that's why they're lowballing us.
But let's not take the piss here, big man. 50 million pounds.
Yep. And
big man, I'm out here trying to.
That's a good point here, because with this type of market, what we've seen from these movements, other teams will get this as a bottom line minimum for players.
Exactly. And it's not to say we're talking about some average squad player here, bro. We're talking about a player with so much potential.
You're talking about a dude that had 12 assists in the Premier League. What?
Listen, if Steve Parrish or Dougie Freeman or whoever's decisions to sign off on that,
fired.
So the next year,
you gotta go.
Somebody's got on. Listen, I'll be turning up to the clubhouse. I'll be down there beckoning at a training ground. I'd probably get suspended from work, because I'm telling you, I'll be down there demanding answers. 50 million pounds for Olise. Even if he has a crap season next year, I want double that.
This is perfect. Anthony Gordon was 50 million, and Anthony Gordon, from the time
he sucks.
Before Anthony Gordon was transferred, he didn't do much at all. After he was transferred for 50 million, he didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? So where is it that, and once again, this is the thing that I stick to, that really, really forever will be on my mind when it comes to these type of things. Anthony Gordon was $50 million because he is an English internet. He's an Englishman. That's why he went for $50 million. That's why he was inflated, because other than that, that price isn't there. So why is it that you keep hearing these type of lowball offers for guys like Mark Gahey, who is an English international, a club captain, and is more experienced with his appearances in play and minutes than somebody like Anthony Gordon, but we only want to get 30, 40 million for Mark Gay.
It's quite ironic, right, that we start this video talking about Wilfried Zaha, because this was the kind of stunts that Arsenal used to try and pull with us. We're trying to buy Wilfried Zaha, or when Everton tried to buy him and give us, what was it, 50 million plus Tosin and McCarthy.
Yep.
Where are these guys now?
I know.
Don't talk to man about some extortionist prices, bro, because it's not going to happen.
Nope.
Listen, mate, it will be the same thing with Olise. Steve Parish plays business, hardball. When Man United came calling for a defender who by trade wasn't even a defender and ended up becoming a big deal, we told them to pay the money. They paid the money. We kept it moving. Same thing applies to all the rest of the players in our squad. I'm not here to get bumped. I'm talking like it's my money, and that's because I'm offended by it.
Yep.
If a man knocks on my house tomorrow, and he says, "Excuse me, sir, I want to buy a house, but I think it's worth 100,000, but that house is worth 350,000." I'm not even gonna slam the door. I'm gonna shut the door slowly. And I'm gonna look it, and I'm gonna look it dead in the eye as I'm looking at it, and then look at the window and be like, "Go get fucked."
I'm gonna move my head with the door so you can keep seeing me as I close.
Yeah, like, let's be serious, man. I'm even hearing rumors that Olise was about to or is about to sign a new contract anyway.
And I mean, even like, let me not be silly by thinking the fact that, yes, if he was a $50 million talent and we sold him for $50 million, that would be an incredible profit for us because we bought him for $8 million. This is true, but he is more than a $50 million talent, and that is the issue at hand, not the fact that we're being greedy or the fact that we won't be making a huge profit off selling him at that amount. But if you're worth more, you're just worth more. I don't know what else to say. So.
Yeah, let's stop taking the mick here, big man. Let's just stop. Like, come on. I know it's been a bit dry for the past couple of transfer windows. I know it's international break, so nobody's really moving like that. I know you ain't really got much to talk about. But listen, this is the bring with liberal political media, like the Times, the Guardian, the Sun, and all those other little bum news channels that Mr. Rupert Murdoch is out here flushing his propaganda down. I'm not here for that, bro. It's a slow news day, and you go, da-da-da-da-da is looking into, da-da-da-da-da has made an inquiry. If I jump into 10 celebrity female inboxes and say, "Hey, babe, what's up?" That is the same concept of what you're trying to sell to me now.
Okay,
Nobody's out here responding to, man. I'm just going to get aired, deleted, and we're going to keep it moving. It's the same concept.
Pretty much. And the thing about it, and Tim makes this point here, and this is why I'm comfortable in where we sit with this, is because it's about what they're worth to us. And that's the price you have to pay. And if you don't, you move on. And the thing that Tim is actually really, I guess, reassuring for us is that in all these times when we've been in these situations that we're kind of talking about this situation with Olise, we've been in this situation multiple times with Wilf. And when teams haven't been willing to pay what we value the player at, we don't agree, they move on, and we keep our players. So hopefully that's the case in this situation. But I'm hoping that this article is wrong with the valuation that we're putting on him, because I think he should be worth more to us than that.
I just think Tim drives a very good point. So for those that know the Palace fan Twitter sphere and YouTube, obviously there's Dan or HLTCO or Hopkins looking to curl one.
Yep.
Best person to talk to about this. He's been campaigning for this for years. It's not about how much you think he's worth, it's how much he's worth to me. If you turn up and I've got a product you want, if I'm not selling, I'm not selling. But if you want to sell it and it is for sale, then we got to negotiate on a number, big man. We're not haggling in some street market in the middle of nowhere on tour. Like, there's a price, there's a multi-million-pound asset. Just because you come around and try and flutter off some little couple pound notes that I might not have right now, doesn't mean I'm out here selling myself out here. We're not particularly a selling club renowned anyway, unless the price is crazy. So I don't think that's going to stop now. Plus, I know, Steve Parish may be a lot of things, but he's not stupid. And he's never sold a player for stupid money. I think at the end of the day, these clubs, they're toying with us. What's his name put it on there? What do you say? Testing the waters. He's toying with us. Yep. They're just toying with us. If you put up, it's just agents and
they'll lowball.
It's just agents and pundits just trying to tickle the water, man, and just test the waters and see, what kind of rubbish can we stir up? Because I'm guessing there's a few other football clubs that have this problem.
And I mean, the thing about it is, and it's the truth in life, in business, period. Everybody loves a deal. Yeah. Everybody loves a deal. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much money you possess. I don't care if I'm a millionaire. I don't care if I only got 20 pounds in my pocket. If I can get something for a discount, I'm going to try to get it for a discount. I don't care how much money I have. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. I mean,
do you know where that comes from as well, T? All these rumors and propaganda about us not having money. That's where it comes from. That's where it stems from.
Exactly.
Because everyone's thinking, Chris Pratt's ain't got money. Maybe if I just fling you a little bit of change that I found down the back of the couch, then nah, man. I'm not here to be wrestled out here. Funny enough, speaking of wrestling, $multi-million man had a saying: everyone has a price.
Everybody got a price. Everybody got a price.
That's true, and I agree with it. But guess what? You're going to match it. Mm-hmm. You're paying it.
I have my price. Will you pay my price?
So what's Colin saying here? If it was Ayew or Slot, then we'd lose
$1 million or two. But these two are our best top players on our team. Take Eze, Olise, and Gehi out. We're very much a weekend side.
Well, do you know, I slightly disagree to that caveat. It's a fair point because obviously, if somebody offered us 50 million for Slop or 50 million for Ayew, we're taking it. But
get out,
get out. Bye. But no, in all fairness, to that point, I just think we still have to consider squad building and just having solid numbers in terms of a squad. Because I still don't envision us going out and buying another 5-6 players. I think we're probably getting another 2 or 3.
And that kind of goes to this comment that I was saving from Daniel from earlier. If Zaha goes and we can't afford to let any of the others go for next season. And I feel like this is a thought process that a lot of people have. And it makes sense because do you want to have a summer window where you lose both of your starting wingers? You lose Zaha, you lose Olise on the other side. So I understand that comment. I understand that argument just because of the fact that you're losing such a huge piece, a huge talent with Wilf. Do you want to scalp yourself and allow your team to lose one of your most talented and young guys too in the same window?
Put it this way, right? The way I'm going to stopgap it is if we have to lose Wilfried Zaha, then I am more than happy to build a squad around Olise and Eze. Period. That's just the way I feel about it.
That's really what it is.
I am more than happy for that to happen. If Zaha stays, the more the better. But in terms of the actual future of the squad, going in, talking about the next, 3 to 5 years, call it a 5-year plan, right? Olise and Eze are the players I'm going to build that system and that team around. And if you're going to want to put some money in and take that away from me, you're paying top dollar. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. And that's just how I feel about it.
Yep. Looking at Spavy's comment here off topic, but I think Ayew's a bit more to our team than some fans realize. He has periods where he's off form, but not so important. But he's pretty key over the past 2 to 3 months, for example. I agree. He meant the great deal to us when Wolf went out and we needed somebody to play on the left hand side. I think Ayew does carry a value to us that goes beyond goals scored and assists. Because if you're only looking at that, then he doesn't bring as much to the table as you would want from a player that's especially playing in your attacking third of the field. But he does bring a lot of value for us, and that's why I think you see him being talked about for an extension too. So
yeah, I think Ayew, the way I look at him is, yes, he may not be the most easy on the eye every time, but one thing I can never take away from him is he will always work hard. He will always bust the gut for you. Like when he comes off that pitch, he looks tired because he's giving his all.
Mm-hmm.
obviously not my most favorite player ever, and I've had my fair share of disrespectful comments towards him. But
I as well.
one thing I can never, ever, ever take away from the man is he works hard. He runs and runs and runs. He'll do whatever he can to bust a
never
gut,
doubt that.
get a little tap in, try and win a
effort.
foul. He'll be on players. He'll dribble his way out of danger. He'll keep the ball up in the corner if he has to. Can't take that away from him. He works hard.
Yeah, you never doubt his effort. Never.
For sure.
So before we get out of here, I want to have one more question that I definitely wanted to highlight that we could talk about here really quickly. And that was from Sibs. How come we're not linked with any managers? What is going on with that? We are now, we just talked about it. We are, 3 weeks away from preseason, and no manager in place, no serious talk of a manager being in place.
I have two theories.
Okay.
First theory, they've given it to Roy and they just don't want to tell us yet. Maybe until some other positive news kicks in. I don't know if we'll signs, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're waiting to see who's left after everyone takes their pickings. Because you've got the Rodgers, you've got Potter, you've got potentially Steve Cooper. There's a few other ones I can't. Oh, there's Hutner.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely a few managers out there still kind of waiting. So I'm almost convinced that if it's given to Roy already and they're just not saying anything until, come a few more good news stories come through the door. Or I reckon they're waiting to see who's going to go where. And then we're going to probably just go up to the last person, maybe put an arm over their shoulder and say, oh, when you come to Palace, get them a bit cheaper. I think it's one of the two.
And I can definitely see that second one just because of the fact, like I said, if we're trying to save some money and things, when you get to that manager that has been passed over a few different times, their demands might change. You know what I mean?
That's true.
In that process. However, it does affect us in the long run just because of the fact that you're bringing in somebody late at
preparation.
Like right now, if we're talking about just preparing for the preseason, even if we signed somebody tomorrow or today, we would be late in a lot of senses. As far as like if you're talking about giving yourself 3 weeks to prepare for the beginning of your preseason, that's not a lot of time.
It's terrible.
You're talking about personnel. You're talking about your personnel, both your backroom staff and looking at the players you're going to have on your team. You're looking at possible transfers. You're looking at your preseason matchups and travel and all those things. That's a lot to consider in 3 weeks' time.
It's a dangerous game that this club plays sometimes, man. I'll tell you. I agree with everything you just said there, man. It's, poor preparation for preseason, preparation for the league the league ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Putting together your team or your starting team, putting together the plans, i.e., who's in the door, who's out the door, who's going to play, who's not going to play less, who needs to go and find a new club, who can we possibly get in on deals, bargains. There's so many intricate things. You're right. Like you said, 3 weeks until preseason. I think one of the guys in the comments mentioned Premier League fixtures coming up as well.
Yep.
It's hard to say, man. It's so annoying because the thing is, we're just kind of on deaf ears and radio silence right now. And Tim drives a fair point. When we bring in Vieira, it was kind of like, all right, we know because it was like, all right, we're going to get Favre. Oh, crap. No, we can't get him. Oh, we're getting Vieira. All right, cool. Vieira comes through the door. He brings in one coach, two coaches, three coaches. We had about
he didn't come in until
12 players for preseason.
And he came in
exactly.
In July?
Then we had 12, 13 players come in, left of the squad. Then it was like every other day we were bringing in new players. And then that can't work all the time. And that doesn't always run all the time. And I think it's just such a bad preparation. And it's such a bad precedent to set.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, you put yourself in a little bit of a bind when you're trying to hire that late, and then like I said, all those things that have to happen in order for the team to be ready to play and be good to go for the actual season itself. That's a lot to throw in there, to throw onto a club and organization. My thing is, if it was your first idea about us moving forward, Roy, just say it, man. Just come out and say it. Get it over with.
It just
So
takes
that
more. It just takes edge off. It just kind of lets us know where we
it,
stand.
it, it takes edge off. It lets us know where we stand, and it lets us then turn our attention to other things as fans. We don't
Exactly.
have to we don't have to worry about who's coming in. We don't have to worry about whether or not we're going to have enough time to get things together, or whether they're going to be able to bond. Like, just take that piece out of the equation. If that's the case, just say it, man. Because waiting and waiting and waiting is bad form. It's bad management. It's bad. It's bad from the top as far as
But then
putting things together.
apparently, um, Paris is on holiday. So I mean, I don't know how Chairman operate if he's by that laptop, but I've seen clips of Steve Parish on holiday, and he looks like he's hitting that Marbella scene and club like friggin' whatever champagne branded name, Club Moet or something like that. Probably like having fucking karaoke lessons and shit. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Is it going to be he comes from holiday and they get the ball rolling? Like, you need to start putting these blocks in together because people are starting to bring through players. People kind of know who's going to be managing what next season.
Yep.
I mean, if it gets to the point where Southampton and Leicester hire their managers before us, then I'm going to be very annoyed.
Problem. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. But before we get out of here, I wanted to give one special shout out that I saw right here to Ashapala LA. Hello from Namibia. We ain't looking to buy Walker Peters yet. He's going to give more freedom to Olise to do his thing than the two old men, Check and Jeff, freeze up as a. Hey, first of
It's
all,
a good shout, but how much do they want for him?
First of all, Ashapala, thank you for joining us from Namibia, bro. Really appreciate that one. I've always been a fan of the idea of possibly bringing in Walker Peters, especially now that Southampton is going down. Hopefully, like you said, that price tag is a little bit lower for us, and not
Hey, who
too
needs
expensive.
him? We have Klein and Wardy. Who needs? Oh, I'm a sick man. Look, see the sun. It's the sun. It's murder my brain, man. I'm
Yeah,
just. First stage
yeah.
is acceptance, lads. First stage is acceptance.
But it is what it is. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more movement, and I just want us to start you know, let's get the progression going. We have some real good momentum with the uniforms and Lerma, and like let's keep going. I don't want that long dead spell in between progressive moves for us. I think we need to get this manager squared away, figure out what's going on with Wilf, and then try to bring in some more players. So, but that's about gonna wrap it up for today's edition of Palace News. I want to say shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in, for contributing to the conversation as usual. I think we had close to around 70 some odd people throughout this time checking in with us and watching and participating. So we really appreciate it. But don't forget, down below, you can like, you can comment, you can subscribe wherever you're from, wherever you're tuning in. We appreciate it, and goes a long way for us. But we'll check you guys later. And as always, up the Palace.
Of the Palace, baby.